morning everyone, and welcome to another video. In this video, I will be discussing the sea and what it means to walk on water as one of Jesus's miracles. Now, where did Jesus walk on water? In the Sea of Galilee. But 100 kilometers north of the Sea of Galilee is another sea, which is connected by the river of Jordan. It's called the Dead Sea. And it's called the Dead Sea because it specifically is such a salt point in the water that nothing stays alive and everything floats. Now from this sea, the river of Jordan then flows down to the Sea of Galilee, which we then see this extremely potent salt water flow down a river of the river of Jordan, now arrive at the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus now walks on water that is able to sustain a buoyancy. Because you see, in the osmosis process, the reason you do not sink in water, in salt water, is because you yourself contain your own level of salt. And in the osmosis process, the longer you remain in the water, the more easily you will then sink. Because your body will then absorb the mineral, causing you to then absorb a denser state, resulting in you now sinking into the water. But in the process of osmosis, in an extremely buoyant level of water, you could essentially say that you could learn to walk on water, which is also known as swimming. But in its spiritual manifestation, you could see it as not sinking in the depths of your fear, of your despair, which the moment you learn to swim as an individual, you face your fear of the unknown, because you do not know what is the water. Anything could be there. But in that fear of despair, do you choose to now maintain your level of buoyancy? To maintain your energy, to maintain and control your environment, where you actively say, I am in control at this particular point, which means I am in control of my fate. And I will not drown in the depths of despair. And I begin to walk on water. Which the moment you realize in your buoyancy, you could literally lay flat in water that carries a certain level of salt and you will not submerge. You are technically walking on water, laying on water. Now to what point does the buoyancy of your feet have anything to do with it? Well, you see, if I all of a sudden simply flap my feet in an extremely buoyant level of salt water, and I try to maintain myself on an upright position as I flap my feet in this karmic flow, you now see I may maintain a more upright position in extreme buoyant levels of water, where it appears I am now walking on water. And this miracle can only be performed in the Sea of Galilee because of the salt water concentrations that are carried down by the river of Jordan into the Sea of Galilee. But what does it mean now? in terms of the analyzing of the Dead Sea, which in its paradox, the Dead Sea is called the Dead Sea because nothing is alive and everything floats. Which now, if you look at your life and the way you have been walking, would you not say you're just kind of passing by at that particular point, just another day passing by, another day passing by, another day passing by, awaiting a moment of the end, where you may now resubmerge and the understanding of the Dead Sea, you also begin to understand a deeply rooted experience in humans, which is the idea of just waiting for life to pass you by. And even in Shakespeare's explanation of capturing the day, which is a Christian concept, a concept taught by Christ to arise to your full potential. Carpe diem. Capture the day. And even in the analysis of Shakespeare, we begin to see now that once again the story of Christ represents itself even in Shakespeare's work. Because you see now, when you analyze the stories that Shakespeare himself would write, would Hamlet ever be able to consider himself or call himself Shakespeare? No, but he is a creation of Shakespeare and lives within Shakespeare's world. But Hamlet himself, being a creation of the creator, never claims to be the true creator in that particular point, because he himself knows he is of a creation point of the creator, that this creator's energy is then manifested through him. And now when we look at the story of Christ, which he himself considers himself the Son below the Father, he does not see himself higher because he sees himself a son, not a father. And in that particular understanding, we even see that Christ himself, even in his acclamation to be the King and the return of the God of the Hebrews, the King of the Hebrews, he himself obeyed to a higher power, which then the people would obey to a higher power through Christ, through a channeling point, creating a fork. And now when you analyze the symbol of peace, what does it look like? A singular line, a channeling point that branches off into 2 points, or 3, or more. But you begin to see the divide in the channeling point, that which you learn once you begin to invite the power of the Creator within your life, which is the moment you actively choose to say, I am in control of my life. All of these particular moments you have lived have sent you to this particular moment right here, right now. And so you've awaited a person of sorts, but you are actively realizing that person has been yourself all along. Now walk with me.